Welcome to another edition of African Americans Ain't African, the talk think tank that proves without a shadow of a doubt that the African American didn't find his way to America in the bottom of a ship. I'm your host, the Indigenous One. And tonight we're having a special guest. Rick Moon is going to be here. And Rick Moon is going to talk about some things that have been posted in the group lately that we're not really into, and we want to explain why some of the things that are posted that see, we go ahead and let stuff in the group because we realize that people are having a hard time dealing with the term black and African American and all this stuff, because what these people are thinking of you, they think that you're feeble-minded. This is what they call you. They call you feeble-minded because we can't get unstuck off of some ideologies that we just can't let go. So tonight we're going to talk about that with Rick Moon, and he's going to bring up some things that have been going on and things that continue to go on that we seem to be oblivious of. So Rick Moon, thank you for joining us.
Hey, how's everybody doing out there? I hope everybody's doing fine. And what I'm on here for is I want to talk about a couple things. I'm gonna be going over a few things here. The first thing that I want to talk about refers to a post that was posted in the African Americans Ain't African group yesterday. The name of the post was I think it's White Wife. Black Art, White Wife. That was the name of it. Black Art. And it was talking about this guy, Donald Glover, the guy that made the America video, that's talking to and the question that was asked is it okay for him to use black art, but then after and exploit our people, which his people too, but then when he goes home at night, he shares all of that with Miss Becky or Miss Ann or whatever you want to call her. Now the thing that I found very disturbing about this post, because actually when I first looked at the post, I didn't, I really didn't, I almost deleted it because I knew that it was going to start an argument between males and females. And I knew that was going to happen. And sure enough, that's what happened. But what was more disturbing to me, though, was all the people who want to claim that they're indigenous and they're all, to the Americas and all this here stuff, but they feel it's okay for Donald Glover to be going home with Miss Ann every night while exploiting our people at the same time. And it was really heartbreaking to hear, to hear what people had to say about that. And one thing that I want to say about it is that if you don't know about this, if you think that it's okay to go out and date whoever the heck you like, no matter what so-called race or whatever, if you think that you can be indigenous and go out with a European girl, you got another thing coming. You can't be indigenous and date Miss Ann at the same time. It can't be done, because and what this group is about, African Americans Ain't African, we're about preserving the bloodline of our grandmothers and our great grandmothers and so on. That's what this group about. You can't preserve her bloodline by going out with someone of another race. That is not feasible. That is not part of being indigenous. And I'm also going to talk about what it means to be indigenous, because we also have a lot of people that think that just because they know that they're indigenous now, and that's the end of it. Well, I'm here to tell you about that too. Indigenous is not just being indigenous. You have indigenous is a culture, it's a lifestyle. There are certain rules that you have to follow in order to live indigenously, and not just, okay, you know, I was the first people in America. It's a whole lot more to it than that, and I'm gonna get into some of that too, to let people know what their responsibilities are to them being able to call themselves indigenous or whatever. But before I start, Buck, is there anything you wanted to ask? Any question you want to ask real quick, or add anything so far?
No, what I want to do, hold on, let me cut that down. Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, what I want to do, as you go along, I want to play devil's advocate. And I want to play devil's advocate because this is where we seem to be going. Every time we have a discussion, it's always got to be some asshole in the group that want to try to, make light of what we're saying. So as you're going through, I'm going to ask you some questions about what you're talking about. So I can, because I mean, man, we divided in about 400, 500 different camps. So what I want to do, I want to bring out some questions and stuff that one of those different camps will answer, so you can give a definitive answer on their questions. Is that cool?
Yeah, that's cool.
So like when you said you're trying to preserve our grandmothers and grandfathers' bloodline, most Negroes don't even think about their grandmothers they don't really care. So when you say we're trying to preserve our grandmothers and grandmothers' bloodline, I'll ask you, well, what you mean by that? Or something like that, so you can give a definitive answer. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, cool. So you just go ahead.
Okay, do you want to know why the bloodlines? I can talk about that right now.
Yeah, yes, please.
Okay. Back doing back in the 1800s, even before that, when we were actually living up to expectations, that we were living up to our indigenousness, that the grandmothers were usually the ones that told all the information, all the good information. She was the one who knew the bloodlines better than anybody, and she was also the ones that was teaching all the rest of us, the importance of the bloodlines, and that's what tells you who you are, because the blood comes from the mother. So whatever her blood is, that's your blood. And so anytime that you go to another race or anything like that, you're actually disrespecting her bloodline. That was very important and very sacred to our families in those days. And it's also in tune with nature. So if anyone wants to say, that is natural to do, to be involved in interracial relationships, all you gotta do is look to nature. There is not one animal, indigenous animal, I might say. I have to make sure that I iterate indigenous animals, because all animals on this planet are not indigenous. Some animals have been cloned and all kinds been mixed and all kinds of things. So all animals are not indigenous. So what I'm saying is all indigenous animals adhere to the laws of nature. And Mother Earth or nature only created one type of people. And they're called indigenous people or autochthon. I can't even say the word. People, but y'all know what I'm talking about. I hope. Or the original people, or some people like to say aboriginal. But really, we are America. Really, that's who we are, America, because we come from the soil.
Let me hit on that. If you go and read a story, this is an old Mississippian story. The Mississippian people down by the Mississippi River, they had a story called Nanawiyah, Nanawiyah. And it's a spiritual story. And this is why it's important for us to know who and what we are. When you read these spiritual stories, it connects you right into what you're supposed to be. And the story of Nanawiyah talks about how the Mother Earth bore the children. The children came out of the earth, and they populated the earth. These are stories we have to know. You can't be next week, well, I didn't know. Nobody told me. You know. Listen, there's a plot out to destroy the African American. If you don't know it by now, you'll never know. There's a plot out to destroy you. And as long as we're feeble-minded, dumb, don't know nothing, we get taken advantage of. Sorry, Rick.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. And another thing, because we don't know this. This is stuff that we're gonna have to answer to. I mean, being indigenous is more to it than that. And like I said, indigenous people adhere to the laws of nature, just like all indigenous animals. Example, do you see rattlesnakes running around with copperheads, mating with copperheads? They both snakes. Do you see eagles messing around with hawks? They both birds. I mean, do you see jaguars mating with pumas? They both cats. And all those animals that I just mentioned are indigenous American animals. And any other indigenous animal in America goes by those same rules. What gives you the right as indigenous people to do what you want to do, but nothing else indigenous, everything else indigenous goes by the laws of nature? What gives you the right to go against those laws? And that's exactly what you're doing when you decide that you want to go out with this European girl or whoever. That's why you're called indigenous people. Or in our case here over here on this side of Mother Nature, or Mother Earth is America. We are America. And like I said earlier, we came from the soul. That's why they call us the soil people or soul people, not because of some food that somebody made up. All these different kinds of food. No, that ain't where it came from. It came from because people couldn't say soil, so it sounded more like soul. And that's where that came from. So when you go against the laws of nature, then you're wrong. You're doing wrong. You're going against her, and she is the one that created you. And another thing, Don't think that the world was here waiting on you to show up, because it wasn't. Because Mother Earth going to continue whether you here or not. So it ain't about you. It never was about you, and it never will be about you. We have responsibilities as the indigenous people. That's why we're called that. That's why we are the people of the soil. That's why Mother Earth, nature, only created one kind of people. Anybody else on this planet is either a mixed breed or a straight up alien. For those who want to know, that's exactly what it is. You either if you're not so-called indigenous person, and not just in America, anywhere on Mother Earth. If you're not the indigenous people of that area, then you are a half-breed, or you are a straight up alien.
Now, Rick, let me cut into there for a second, Rick. You got a radio on or something?
No, not me.
You know, like I said, I just want to play devil's advocate, because we have so many African Americans who are totally against the indigenous paradigm. They're African, they Hebrew Israelites, they're Moors. So when you say that other people indigenous to other parts of the world, so would you say that the people who are indigenous to here cannot be indigenous to Russia, or cannot be indigenous to China, or cannot be indigenous to Africa?
No, because the world is split into ecosystems. I mean, the same, and to get back on the other indigenous animals, the same animals that you see in America, you don't see in Africa or in Asia or anywhere else. The people are going to have differences. So if you're born, if your grandmothers and great grandmothers and great great grandmothers, so on and so forth, if they came from America, if they are America, then you are America, and that's why you're here. If you wasn't, you can't go to Africa and say I'm indigenous, because you're not. You can't go to Asia and say I'm indigenous, but your ancestry goes back to America. You can't do that. So that's why you just can't be indigenous everywhere. You're only indigenous to one landmass. And while we're talking about land masses, America is only one landmass. There is nothing that separates so-called North America and South America. And if you want to talk about the Panama Canal is a man-made canal that man built, and it's split right in the middle of the country. The canal it splits the country in half. The country of Panama actually splits it in half. One half touches the rest of so-called North America. The other half is on the border with South America. As a matter of fact, you can be standing in Panama, which is North America, take one step, and now you're in Colombia, which is South America. So there is no separation of America. There is no North and South America. It's just America, or America. Same goes, and I heard Buck talking about this the other day. Same goes with on the other side, Asia, Europe, and Africa. There is nothing that separates them, not except something man-made. Nothing man-made separates them. And and if y'all think, all y'all that think that Africa is separate from Asia and Europe, yeah, you know why? Because of what's called the Suez Canal. Another man-made canal that separates Africa from Europe and Asia. So that's just one continent. It really ain't number. Really, let's see, 1, 2. I guess you could say 5. Well, 4. You got America. You have Eurasia, or whatever you want to call it, which is Africa, Europe, and Asia. And then you have Australia, you know, and all of those islands around there. And then you have Antarctica, which is a continent. All of those islands in the Caribbean, they're part of America too. They're either North America or South America. In the case of places like Haiti, Dominican Republic, Cuba, Puerto Rico, those that's North America. But then you go down further towards South America, you have the islands down there like Curacao,
Trinidad and Tobago.
Right. No, Trinidad is North America.
Trinidad is
Trinidad and Tobago.
South.
You know, those type countries. So like I said, you can't be indigenous to but one place. That's why you can't be an African American. That's two places. That's two different places on two different sides of the world. So that you can't be that. That's just as bad as, like I said, being indigenous and dating Miss Ann. Like you doing the right thing. It's not. That is not what our people live by. So you are not only are you disrespecting your mother and your grandmother and and on up by doing that, you're also disrespecting Mother Nature, Mother Earth Nature itself. Because that's not what you're here for. Like I said, you have a purpose here, and your purpose, the reason you're indigenous American, because it is your responsibility to preserve the bloodlines of America. That's your responsibility.
And let me ask you something, Rick. You know, all the listeners who are listening are in the chat box. If you have questions, please post them, and I'll make sure Rick or I get them. But Rick, I want to send you this. I want to ask you this question that Charlene Brown put up, and she said, "Animals who haven't been domesticated still follow the law, still follow natural law, but we don't." What does she mean by that?
Well, what she means is that like I said earlier, all indigenous animals adhere to the laws of nature, except us, except the indigenous people. I mean, that's basically in a nutshell. That's basically in a nutshell. I mean, it's really cut and dry right there. You know, there's no way around that. And anything different, like I said, you're going against it. You're going against the laws of nature. And nature is absolute truth. It cannot be disproven. You cannot disprove absolute truth, and that's what nature is. So when you say that, when she says that all indigenous animals adhere to nature except people, what she's saying that all other animals know their purpose, except the indigenous people. We're the only ones that don't know our purpose. That's basically what she's saying. But
No, I understand, because see, this is the problem I have. Brother, we've been going through this for 200 years, more than that probably. And it seems like the African American, no matter how much information you give, no matter how much information you share, how much facts, I mean, this is not hard. This information that is put forth is not hard. It's just common sense. And we refuse. We just outright refuse to look at things on how they are. Why do you think that is?
Oh, repeat that question again. I'm sorry.
You know, with all this information going on, when you look at everything in the mainstream media have to do with the so-called African American, the so-called Black, the so-called Negro. But it seems like they're still having a hard time understanding, their role in the whole matrix of things. They just act like their role is to have somebody wipe their feet on their face. That's what the African American act like. They'll argue what you're saying now. They'll argue. So when we say African Americans ain't Africans, we ask simple questions like, who in your family told you you were from Africa? And we want to argue and fight about that. Well, if they bought, Stokely Carmichael. And I was reading something earlier today that was talking about controlled opposition and all these people who educators and all these leaders. A brother told me last night, the only leaders that you have is your mother and father. Once they're gone, you lead yourself. Most African Americans don't even look at it like that. We think we need somebody to come tell us what to do. And you should already, and like you say, if you follow natural law, you'll already know what to do.
Right. That's another thing. What indigenous animals follows another animals? Do those same eagles go tell the hawks that to teach their children, to teach their babies? Do the baby jaguars do the jaguars go to the pumas and ask the pumas to raise their children? No animals does that. No indigenous animal, like I said. Nobody does that. We're the only ones that does that. And there's a price to pay for that. Oh, yes, there is a price to pay for that when you go against the laws of nature. And another thing that we don't know, we don't understand how special we are. We are the only people on this planet, on this so-called planet, that you can take two indigenous people and make any complexion from albino to the darkest browns and all shades in between. We are the only people in the world that can do that. That should tell you something right there. Just that. Get two Europeans together and they have a baby. What color is that baby gonna be? The same color as them. Asians, they have a baby. What color is the baby? Same color as them. All of them, except our people. You can have two so-called dark people and have what's called a light-skinned baby. I even have that in my family. Where I have a sister, she's dark. His father is dark, but he's light-skinned. Nobody else can do that. Nobody else. That should tell you right there that it's something about you that's so much better, you know, that's over everyone else, that makes you more. And another thing, everybody want to be you. Hey, and all you people who think of getting back to the interracial thing, all you people who think it's cool, well, y'all the only ones that don't know, because the Europeans and all them, they know too. They don't get with you because they like you. They get with you because they know that you got the blood of the earth. They know that you're the only one that can survive on this planet. So they got to get as much like you as they can to try to ensure their survival. And that's what all indigenous animals do. They made for survival of their kind. So they don't have time to be going to something else, to another type of animal, trying to make babies with them. You know. So we gotta come around, man. We gotta start thinking. We gotta start thinking. It's something about you. Why come everybody wants to be like you? When we take all these names and all this stuff that people give us, they take the ones that we gave that we changed from. That's why half of you think that the dumb Mongolian is the true American here.
Let me ask you this. You know, we use the term when we're describing ourselves, we use the term black big time. Do you think, or how do you feel about when we use the term black? Because I know is, you know, when you watch how dogs do, it's kind of how the African American gets around. We think it, we say it, and then we do it.
Right.
When we constantly say black, 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 through all the years we've been using that term black, do you think we vibrate ourselves into a mode that we honestly think we're a black dot, or we honestly think we're what you call that, redacted out of life? Because we call ourselves black so much that if we see somebody who's Malcolm X color, we'll say, oh, his mama got raped by the slave master. We constantly call ourselves black that we really think we are the same color as our cell phone.
Right. And on top of that, we'll claim everybody else black too. I mean, we'll claim Bruno Mars black. Anybody that ain't got white in them, we'll accept them as black. Any Mexican walking down the street, he black. And like you say, that word means nothing. As a matter of fact, it's a horrible word. And as a matter of fact, I've already decided I'm gonna do a show about some of these words that we like to call ourselves too, and the spells that we put on ourselves using those words. We're gonna have that discussion too at a later date. But that's being black. I mean, I don't understand it. Even other words. None of these words are really words that we gave out. We gave us. Other people gave us their words, and they stick it in our heads, and we started to take on those personalities. And that's why we're in the bad shape that we're in now, because we think we black. But a black person is nothing. And your president told you, the last president you had before this one, he told you that because you was calling him black. And he said that and told you that black has no standing in law. Matter of fact, black means dead in law. That's why when y'all be moaning and complaining and playing victim because that policeman shot a black man, that's why. because you can't be prosecuted for shooting a dead man. A black man is a dead man. So how can you prosecute for killing somebody who's dead?
Let me ask you something, Rick. Why is it so difficult for us to realize and understand simple concepts like what you're talking about?
Hey, we just been you got to give these aliens credit. I mean, they ran a game on us and we went for it. I mean, they totally changed us around. They had us thinking, we was thinking one way and they turned us completely around. And all you people who like to play victim that say they had guns and they had this and they that, come on. No, that ain't no. And they killed all this and they killed all that. No, they ain't killed nobody. The only thing that killed you was them pens and pens and paper that they had. That's what killed you. They was getting their butts kicked. They was losing every war they had with us. We was kicking their butt. But the mistake we made was you never make treaties with the losers. We didn't know that. And that's how we got into the situation that we're in today. Because we let the losers dictate the terms. Just like you letting the losers make you black. Or African American, or all these other names that we like to call ourselves that our own didn't give us. You know, it's that all that stuff gotta cease. All that stuff gotta cease. And I want to get on. I want to get on this indigenous thing too. What it means to be indigenous. Just because you found out that your people were the first people here, it don't end there. Indigenous people have a responsibility. Indigenous people are, and when I'm saying this, I'm speaking of the indigenous people of America or America. This is who I'm speaking to. I'm not speaking to nobody else. You know, although there any indigenous people in those other places, they basically follow the same rules. Matter of fact, they follow exactly the same rules, laws of nature. So to be indigenous not only means that you the first people here, it also means that you have a responsibility to Mother Earth or nature. You have a responsibility to it. Your responsibility is to ensure that these bloodlines, that your grandmothers and all the bloodlines stay pure. Now, if you think that's racist, then you don't know what racism is. Because everybody else in the world thinks the same way. You rarely see Mexicans messing around with anybody else, and they're not even indigenous people. But you don't see them. You rarely see them run around and with anybody else but their own kind. Same with a lot of these Orientals too. A lot of them. You know, you don't see them, you know, and we're the ones that are responsible for this. So, like example, these trees, that's your lifeline. This is and to be honest, and the funny thing about this is I learned this when I was in the 5th grade. In grade school, I learned this in the 5th grade. That oxygen comes from plants. Carbon dioxide comes from the animals, and they exchange them. You can't, without the plants, you can't live. The plants can't live without the animals. That should tell you right there that you have a connection. That there's a you have a connection between And not just plant life, all life. You have a connection. You, hey, you, hey, you can when you go to the forest. When I go to the forest and I take somebody with me, you know, one of my people, one of my friends, or one of my family members, or anybody like that, and we look at each other, you can see where you blend in with everything. You can see how you blend in with everything. You blend with the trees, you blend in with the soil, you blend in with the animals, all of it. And everything you see is the same color as you. You can find every color that you see in that forest, you can find somebody the same color. And that's from them reds, them oranges, and all them yellows, them too. You can find somebody them colors too. You know, and even when the fall comes around, when the leaves change colors, they change the colors of you. Everything. So you blend in with everything. So you know, your responsibility is to ensure that Mother Earth stays healthy. In order to do that, you got to make sure you got to make sure that nobody destroys these trees, because when these trees go, you're gonna go too. And believe me, Mother Nature will find a new people. That's why I said earlier, it ain't about you, because Mother Earth will have the abilities to create another indigenous people. So as far as the males go, your responsibility is protect the females and the children, because the females hold the key to the whole family, because they're the ones that birth all the males and females. I mean, if you look at any of these wild animals, the males protect and they build. That's another responsibility of the male. We supposed to be building. We supposed to ensure that our females and children have proper shelter and all that, you know, and the essentials. This is your job, and when you hold those responsibilities, you're also helping life. You're helping Mother Earth Nature. You're doing that's absolute truth. That's absolute truth. We need we should be planting trees. And if you look at the so-called European, he's cutting them all down. He's destroying them. Now, according to the laws of nature, you don't kill what created you. Because if you kill what created you, that means you die too, along with it. Now, they destroying everything. They destroying a lot of things. You know, they destroying all of, and it's not, and don't think it's just against indigenous people. Because you ever heard of bear season, deer season, duck season? War against anything indigenous. But mess with something that's not indigenous. Dog season, and see what happened to you if you go out there and kill one. Cat season, go out there and kill one, see what happens. These are what they cherish. These are things that they cherish. And now they got us doing the same thing and forgetting about all the things that we're connected to. We're connected to the forest. That's what the ecosystem called America is forest. If it can't live wild in the forest, then it's not indigenous. If you can't find it out there in the wild, living amongst the wild, not saying that some animals can't adapt, but you don't see them living in families. Most of them are basically loners, wanderers. You might find a buddy or two, to run around with and terrorize. But you don't usually see that. If you don't usually see it in the forest, it's not indigenous. So, and that goes with people too. When you put one of those so-called Europeans in that forest, and he'll stick out like a sore thumb. Heck, you can stick one of them Mongoloid Native Americans in the forest, and he'll stick out like a sore thumb. But you go in that forest, and you blend right in with everything. And that was one of the problems they had when they came over here. That's why we was kicking their butt, because we blended in so well with the environment that they couldn't see us. That's why, and that's another reason why they're destroying everything, so they can see you. That's why everything's going digital, because they can't see analog. See, these are things that we need to be that we need to be figuring out. These are things that we need to think about, why these things happening. But now we too busy wanting to be victim or peacemaker. That's what we want to be. Oh, you should be able to go out with whoever you like.
Man, somebody posted a meme in the group, and it had to be about 30 brothers in a pool, all dancing with European chicks. I couldn't believe it. I mean, it was a whole pool party. I didn't see one sister in the place, and all these brothers were on white girls. And from what I'm hearing, the brothers say, these brothers dog out their own mama. So what does that mean when you have the males attacking the females worse than the colonizers?
Right there, you gotta brainwash people. And to put that in ugly terms, a bunch of bitches. That's what you got. And I hear from brothers all the time. They want to put all everything, that all the mishaps to them, they want to put it on some female. They'll blame on their mother. They'll blame it on their girlfriend, their wife. They'll find somebody to blame. The only person they won't blame is themselves, and they won't blame the white man. They'll never blame neither one of them, but they'll blame everybody else for their failures. And and if you want to go back to slavery, that's what happened. That's basically what happened with slavery. They got the males to sell out on the females. That's basically how, and they show you this if you look at some of these movies. Look at 12 Years a Slave. Look at that movie. Who was the cracker? That was Samuel L. Jackson. Who was he beating on? Female. They would, males weren't, male grown males anyway weren't slaves. Because you would break they know they would break your neck. And at a particular time, they had to let the boys go because they get too big and too strong. And that's the thing about slavery. You want to talk about that.
See, that's why I don't think we understand how the media works. Because if you notice, I want to bring up something you said. You were saying that back in slavery, we're enslaved more now than we were back then. And so I always get, You know, people, what you mean by that? No, we ain't. I ain't no slave. Who language do you speak?
Yep.
You don't speak your mother's tongue. And this is the problem I have with Negroes. You're so arrogant, and you're not even stopping to look and to figure out what's going on. You don't even speak your tongue. If your people showed up on the planet today and start talking to you, you would sit there looking like a fool because you don't know your language.
Right.
And if I say, well, listen, find out where your people are from, find out the rivers and lakes, go around there, walk in them forests, and you can hear them calling you. This is simple. This is just simple, you know, because where the people get their language from? Nature. Nature taught them. They mixed in the birds. They mixed in what the animals said. They mixed in their environment, and they learned to speak and start developing languages that way. We don't even think about that. That never enters our mind.
No, because we're too busy being selfish and ain't thinking about nobody but themselves. And you know, it's funny. It's funny that all you have to do is think in terms of nature, and you can figure out all kinds of stuff. You'd be surprised what you can figure out if you just went simply by the laws of nature. You know, like I'll give you an example. Like all these males, they're talking about they the seed. But if you look at it in nature, who's feeding that child? Who's pumping that blood into that child? Who's doing all that? So how are you the seed?
Yeah, I think that was one of the ploys to get the brothers to go against the sisters, you know, to make them think, to make the males think, because a lot of Hebrew Israelites think that way. A lot of Moors think on that patriarchal type thinking.
Right.
They think that they created the woman. This brother told me, he said, man, we carry the seeds. I'll explain how. And he couldn't explain. And that's what I mean about us. Stop talking so much and start thinking.
Right.
The
That's why.
woman, the
As a
woman,
matter of fact,
those eggs are passed down from my daughter, her mother, her mother, her mother, her mother, her mother, her mother, her all the way back. Those seeds are pushed forward. That's why they say we really never die. But that's another radio program we'll talk about. But this is what I'm saying, y'all. Y'all got to start thinking.
yeah. As a
Just
matter of fact,
go
I
ahead.
was talking
Go
to a
ahead.
fellow today, and he was talking about and I asked him, I say what animals, what indigenous animals in nature do you see mating with other animals? No, I said that they don't, that things in nature don't mate, you know, with other species. And then he said, he came back to me, he said, well, there's plenty of animals that mix like that. And I asked him, I said, name a few.
What you talking about?
Yeah. Hey, took him now when I first made the statement, took him less than 20 minutes to answer back. You don't know what you're talking about. You just trying to get a piece of pussy. That's what he told me. I'm just trying to get some pussy. That's why I said what I said. So I said, well, okay, name a few. I waited. I know I waited at least over an hour. And I called him back. I said, yo, it didn't take you but 20 minutes to come back the first time I commented, what's the problem? Dude never got back with me. So that's what I'm saying. You can't be running your mouth if you don't know what you're talking about. If you can't explain it, then you need to keep your mouth shut.
Let me share this one from Tyrone Street. This is very important. speaking of rivers and lakes, most of us are river people. Now, most of us don't even know how to swim, scared
Right.
of the water, or don't want to get their hair wet. These babies need to know how to swim. That's very important. Because, since I've been down here in the South, you don't know how many stories I've heard about babies drowning. I mean, 9 and 10-year-old kids drowning in the lake or the river because they didn't know how to swim. Are you crazy? But why
Right.
do you think some people throw babies in the water soon after they come out of the womb? Because the baby has been swimming underwater since his conception. He should know how to swim. That's
Right.
how far we cut ourselves off.
He can definitely keep himself afloat. That baby can definitely keep himself afloat.
But Rick, let me give you this question. This is from B. Brutus.
Okay.
Where do we go from here?
Well, where do we go from here? Well, what we have to do is we got to get to know ourselves. We got to know who we are. We got to know our relationship to everything on this planet, because in the end run, at the end of everything, what this all boils down to is, if you're not living by the laws of nature, which was what you were created for here and put on this on Mother Earth nature for, then you're going to perish. So you start that. That's why I'm telling all you people who just think you just indigenous and that's it. No, no, your job ain't even started. Your responsibility ain't even started. Your purpose hasn't even started yet. With that, heck, that's just finding out, that you were created by the soil. That's all you find out. You don't know anything about your responsibilities to being one born from the soil. So
let me say this, because I'm watching a conversation with Charlene Brown, and this is so simple. This is why we can't be dumb, y'all. Check this out. So, whatever you want in life, whatever you want, you can create yourself. How do I know this? And this is simple, y'all, because you can recreate yourself.
that's right.
There's nothing more important. Most of us would give up our life for our loved ones. Because why? Because they normally gave up their lives for us.
Right.
I mean, you don't think a woman has to, a pregnant woman goes through some shit, especially when she's under stress. And we can't protect that. We can't build nothing for her. We can't build a place where her and the children can be safe because we want to watch the game. And here's a question for the sisters. All the sisters listeners, I want to ask you this question. What would you do if you had all the man hours, the hours that men work for other people and watch sports? If you had those man hours to create whatever you could create, what would you create?
I would say create a whole bunch of stuff the way these knuckleheads like to watch the game.
This is what I'm talking about, y'all. Our energy, how our energy is zapped of us. How many 8-hour shifts times how many brothers that have a job giving that energy to another group of people instead of giving it to themselves? I mean, is that explaining it simply enough? How many basketball and football and hockey and blah 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 games do we watch times how many brothers watching it? How much of that energy could be used doing something for us? These are thoughts that the African American don't ever think about. This is the shit we got to start thinking about, y'all, because really, I'm watching a video now. I'll post it in the group later. I'm watching the video now, and they telling you, let's get rid of these niggas. They're feeble-minded, dumb, ignorant. They're taking up space. This is how people think of you. So I know we like to think about and have faith in ourselves and lift up our self-esteem, and that's all fine and dandy. But you have enemies forming against you now that they not playing. And all that Jesus and the African gods and the blah, 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 all that junk, the people that's gonna do it is us.
Yeah. And hey, and another thing, you and all these guns and all this stuff, that ain't work either. Because they got more than you got. Now I'm not saying don't have a gun, because a gun is necessary, but for protection purposes. Don't be going out there trying to make war, because you ain't gonna win. You're not gonna win. We have to beat them. We have to beat them like they beat us. They beat us with their minds. That's how they got us. They beat us with their minds. They came up with a scheme and they ain't had to pull a damn trigger to get us. That's what we got to beat them. We have to defeat them with our minds. And the only way we're gonna get that back is we got to return to the earth. We have to. If we don't, we done. We finished. Hey, and I know it sounds hard. I know it sounds hard, but you don't think it was hard for them to figure out how to get us? Took them a long time to figure it out too, but they did it. We got to get these spells off, stop getting these spells off ourselves. Stop putting these spells on each other. Stop being what other people say we are, and be who we are. That's why I don't even like to call myself indigenous or aboriginal or none of them. I just call myself America, because I came from the soil. So I am American. So when somebody asks me, like in 2020, when the census come out, when everybody got to claim who they are, I'm putting America. That's who I am. And if they want me to prove it, I got all the proof they need. I got all the proof they need right here in my head. I don't even need no paperwork. But hey, but eventually we're gonna have to return, man. We're gonna have to return to the soil. Hey, I still got a ways to go too. I'm not out of the woods either. I'm trying though. I'm getting myself more acquainted with the earth. So and I'm living. See that's the thing about these religions. See, all that stuff is y'all sitting here talking about dead stuff. The Bible, the Quran, all them people dead and gone. Why y'all talking about them? We living. And that's what we should be doing. We should be for life and not death. That's death. Jesus is dead. Muhammad, he's dead. Noble Drew Ali, he's dead. All of them, they gone. That's not your purpose here. Your purpose is for life. It's to live. Your purpose ain't to die. That's what they want you to do. That's why they tell you. That's why they threw all that stuff in your face. So you sit there and kill yourself. And take it off of them. So now we don't have to kill you. You kill yourself. And that's what we do. That's what our people do. And we don't try to we don't try to find out nothing. We don't try to find out nothing. We think we think that it's okay to just be selfish. As long as you live, as long as I'm living a good life, I did my part. You did your part for who? Yourself. And like I said, it ain't about you. It ain't about you. So if you're not trying to help someone else, you got some karma coming too. Oh yeah, all of you people who are anti-life, all of you got some karma that you're gonna have to deal with.
And it ain't pretty.
No. No, it's not. But you're gonna have to deal with it until you change. Until you change, you're gonna have to deal with that, and things are still they're gonna continue. See, nobody don't want to change either. They want to be able to do the same things. They don't want to, like you were saying earlier, they don't want to think. Hey, all things have different meaning depending on who's saying it. It's art to that too. That we gotta know. That's another thing we gotta know. We gotta learn what these words mean when we read them. Because it might not mean the same thing in one sentence, and you can get that same word put in another sentence, and it's got a whole different meaning. These are stuff we gotta learn. We gotta learn how to work. We gotta learn how to work with the earth. That's an early thing that we need to learn how to do. Work with the earth. Start growing our own foods. We need to start planting trees because once upon a time, this place was all trees. There was a time where a squirrel could start from Nova Scotia and jump and go all the way to Florida. Or even farther than that, go all the way into Argentina without having to drop it hitting the ground. That's how many trees it was here.
Say that again.
There were enough trees in America that a squirrel could go all the way from Canada all the way down to Argentina, South Argentina in South America, without touching the ground.
So that would be like so that's how they made their riches real quick over here by cutting down all the trees.
Right. And what purpose did those trees serve? Those trees served as a canopy. It protected you in bad weather. Those trees were there to block off all that weather, bad weather and stuff. Now look at what's happening. Look at what happened. As a matter of fact, all you African Americans, y'all need to be looking at what happened in Egypt. Egypt used to be just as fertile as it is here. It was just as fertile. Now ain't nothing but a desert. Why? Because the people went against their conscious resolve, which conscious mean they went against their nature. Those Egyptians over there. That's why they dead. Ain't nothing over there now but a bunch of Arabs who claiming they claiming they the Egyptians and getting paid off all these African Americans who think that's them.
That's embarrassing.
Ain't it? And you know what else is embarrassing? When you can sit there and say you from Africa and tell me I'm from Africa, but you don't know what part of Africa you from, but you can tell me I'm from Africa. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing too. You know you from somewhere, but you don't know exactly where it is. That's dumb. But that's what we've been whittled down to, you know, and hey, and until we learn about ourselves and what and why we're here and our purpose here, we ain't gonna never evolve. Never. We never gonna get better. Never gonna be better. Like I said, it's hard. It might sound hard, but if you want to live, you better do something, and that includes myself. Because I ain't, like I said, I ain't where I need to be at either. I'm sitting here living in the middle of the darn city, the place I ain't got no business in. And that's what's going to turn into these deserts first, versus these cities. Because they already done cleaned them out. They already cleaned them out. And like I say, when all the plant life goes, the animal life goes with it. Everything here is in balance. Everything is in balance. And when that balance is messed up, people gonna suffer. That's why all this stuff happened today that's going on. Well, of course, that and also these aliens also figured out a way that they can do some damage too. You know, but until we return back to our nature, this stuff ain't nothing gonna change for us. We're gonna continue to be in these situations. And we gotta stop being victims, man. We gotta stop bitching about it. We bitch about everything. We bitch about everything. We put a post in there saying such and such did this. Everybody started bitching. That ain't gonna get us nowhere. That's not gonna get us anywhere. That's why we gotta watch what we post in the group. We gotta watch what we post. Because if it don't pertain to us, because that's what the group was created for. To help us get back to where we need to be. We're not gonna get back where we need to be talking about how the police jumped on this dude and beat him up, or how this white lady called the police on a bunch of brothers who was just out there sitting out there minding their business, and all we doing is bitching and complaining about it. But we continue to put ourselves in those positions. And to that person that was talking about solutions, here's a solution. Leave him alone.
They leave you alone.
Yep. Leave him alone. If you leave him alone, you can't complain about him because you ain't having no dealings with him. So you can't leave him. You can't have no complaints. You can't bitch. You have nothing to bitch about. But we want to be around them, and at the same time expect them to do something for us. And they've shown us ever since the 1400s that they ain't thinking about us. And then they bringing all these other people over here who ain't thinking about you either.
And they're taking all the riches, out of the community.
Oh, they got it. Oh, they got it bad over there. That's why they coming over here. And why they coming over here, now you got it bad. But everybody's just thinking about themselves. Everybody wants to be selfish.
Rainstorm says he don't get it. The sun will burn him out, but he cuts down all the trees. That's the part of being selfish.
Right.
You don't care about the environment. You just want to have a car that you can look better in than that guy on the side of the road, that homeless dude on the side of the road. See, it's always, the cities are set up. It's always a rich and poor, and you're always going to be the poor, and he's always going to try something to outshine you. The suits and stuff. Where's your clothes? How come you don't make clothes no more? You try to fit in his suits. You try to fit in his dresses. You try to fit in his high heel. Brothers, a lot of brothers try to fit in them high heels too. But where's our stuff? How come we're not running the tobacco no more? How come we don't make our own cigarettes? How come we don't make our own, produce our own food? You have all this land that you walked away from that's still there because your family back then was astute enough to keep it in the family. But you get to walk on concrete and get to walk at the Hollywood stars, the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and that's where you want to be. You are killing yourself out. You are choking yourself out. And it's relevant because when you go down south and you see people from Poland grabbing up 600 of your acres, people from Russia grabbing up 900 acres, and you scared to get on the land.
Right.
We scared of the land. So, basically what I'm trying to say, and those of you who listen to me for a while, I'm a no nonsense, straightforward type of guy. We ain't got time to bullshit. Repeating stuff that we learn from other people, you see where it's gotten us, right? You still have most African Americans waiting for Sky Daddy to come down and lift them up to heaven. That didn't work for your great grandmama. That didn't work for your grandmama, your mama, or you. And it won't work for your children. So teach your children something spiritual about life that's going to connect them to life. And like Rick said earlier, you're not worshiping that dead stuff.
That's right, because you end up dead just like it. And who want to talk about that stuff? I mean, that's boring, man. I want to talk about what I can do, what I can do with the earth right now. That's what I want to talk about. I don't want to talk about what happened 3,000 years ago. Although I'm not going to forget that what happened years ago. I'm not going to forget it because I might need it, to handle a situation. But I'm not going to harp on it. I want to move. I'm want to move forward, and that's what we should be trying to do. Moving forward, we like staying stagnant. We love to talk. We love to talk about a bunch of nothing either. A bunch of nothing. Misery loves company, and that's who we are. That's exactly who we are. But until we change, that's the hand we're dealt with. And as I look at the time, is we've been going at this for like an hour and a half, so I don't want to go too long. I might bore everybody out. So I just want to let everybody know, who think that all of this mixing of the races is good. No, it's not. And we're not going to condone it in the group either. So as a matter of fact, if you don't have indigenous mother, then you have no need to be in a group.
This is what gets me on the whole, because brothers talk about that white girl, and this is what gets me. I'm like, your mother created you. Why would you not create yourself with the woman like who created you if you think you're wonderful.
Right.
If you think you're a part, it leaves me confused, and that's what I'm saying. You, huh? We do stuff and say stuff, man. That I'm mind. It's mind boggling how the dumb shit we be doing.
And that's why you got her. Hey, she was created for you, and you were created for her. But we rather go to somebody else who has nothing to do with us. And like I said, what you're doing is you creating your own genocide. Example, this little girl that just married that prince over there. You know, her mother was fortunate because she's mixed too. That Meghan Merkel chick or whatever her name is, she's mixed. Her mother was fortunate that she had a daughter because her grandmother's bloodline is still alive. But if she don't have no daughter, if Meghan Merkel, whatever, if she don't have no daughter and she's still with that alien, she just killed her mother's bloodline, her grandmother's bloodline. She just killed it. That's the end of her bloodline, and never come back again. And like I said, every animal, every indigenous animal on Earth mates with its own kind to ensure the survival of his species. The only one that don't do that is the indigenous people. And with that, I want to say good night. I hope everybody enjoyed what they've heard, and I hope that you start to take heed to what we're talking about. And I also want to thank Buck for giving me the opportunity to speak on this, you know, and I know it's been a while since I've been around, but I'm gonna be around for a little while this time. So with that, everyone have a good and safe night.
Thanks, Rick. So so that's what the topic is about. Our relationship to each other. The way the relationship is going with the Black, African American, Negro people, they're at war with each other, the men and the females. And we have to see what that's doing to us. I mean, it's all kind of stuff going on. You better understand what we're doing. We better understand the game we playing. Because like Rick said, karma is a motherfucker. Everything you do comes back to you. What are the stories that your parents passed down? You better find your uncles and aunts and your grandparents and all those and start asking questions. Go back to where they were from. I'll give an example. The Washita people, not the Moors, the people the Moors tried to steal from. The Washita people live in the Oklahoma, Arkansas area, Texas, in that area. And you spell it Ouchita. Those are the mountains and the river there. And like the brother said earlier in the chat, he said, we're river people. The rivers were our highways. These are things we have to know. What size shoe LeBron James wear is not important. We have to know where our people were from and what they did. And you have to go back there and walk what they walk. You might be, do you know all the ailments we have are right back in them places? Because the ailments that are here now, those weren't the ailments that were back then. But those plants can heal us. And many of us, I know sisters that are 65 years old from Mississippi, and they say they'll never go back there because they were scared off their land. You better start teaching your children something different. All this bullshit that we walking around claiming that we know don't work. All these cats around here telling you all this bullshit. Come on, y'all. You're Hebrew Israelites. You're a biblical character. Really? This is what we do. This is what we believe. This is what we teach our children. We teach our children that they're from something. These people aren't even on the planet no more. We teach our children that they are from some faraway place, so they will be psychologically disconnected from their ancestral homeland. It's simple. This shit's not hard. We are teaching our children to be dumb. And the school system, really, when I went to school, it was a joke. We haven't produced nothing so we can make sure our children are properly educated so they can compete in the world. We've done nothing, and not even trying to. With all these educated Negroes we have, we're not trying to make our children, shape our children's mind into something great to get out of this hellhole that we find ourselves in. For real, cuz? For real? So this is what I'm saying. I mean, seriously. I'm gonna have a young lady on in the next day or two. She might be later on tonight. She's gonna talk about what they're doing to the babies, aborting the babies. I don't know if many of you heard of a doctor in Philadelphia. This was about 5 years ago, while this brother were doing those partial abortions. And what they do with those fetuses, they crush those bones up. They make medicine. They make all kind of products off your babies. Kind of a guerrilla way to doing it, the Henrietta Lacks thing. Because remember, Henrietta Lacks is us. You're Henrietta Lacks.
That's right. What she got, you got.
What she got, you got. But you don't got it because you think you're 5,000 miles across the Atlantic and arrogant about it. We ain't got no time. We don't have a lot of time to fuck around, y'all. Serious. So I'm gonna have this sister on, and she's gonna talk about what these people are playing. What these people are saying. Trump is a distraction. Everything you see, like those radio shows in the morning, those Steve Harvey, whatever the other guy name is, those are distractions. They are to keep you dumb. You never wonder why these guys 65, 70 years old are on the radio, because they have been very, very, very to keeping you dumb. I mean, ugh. And the majority of African Americans fall for it. So to say wake up, you've been told that. Get busy, y'all. Connect with the people that have like mind, who and want to survive, because the majority of African Americans are in death mode because they see no way out, because they don't think. So get with people around you who think like you. And like Rick said, check out nature. Watch how nature moves. Nature don't move. Nature don't move slow. Trust me. The planet keeps itself suspended in midair with you on it. You share in those qualities. Start using them. Thank you for joining us tonight. We'll see you next time.